W201 diesels, a model overview. So I've been getting a few more inquiries than usually about the W201 diesels. And while people seem to have a lot of familiarity with the 115 diesels, the 123 diesels, the 126 diesels, and of course, not that this is discussed that often, but Ponton diesels and Fintail diesels, there's a lot of ambiguity about the W201 diesels and what models and engines they came with. So we're going to try to clear some of that up today. The W201 was introduced in the United States in 1984, but production had begun in 1983 for the rest of the world. Right from the start, Mercedes Benz felt that a new diesel engine that was more efficient, lighter, more economical, and less service intensive was needed. Now, whether you love or hate these characteristics, the OM601 engine that debuted in the 190D 2.2 was a respectable engine. I don't see these engines developing some of the issues that their bigger brethren did, and for all intents and purposes, for a low-powered, robust, economical diesel engine, Mercedes succeeded. I would say that the OM601 is one of those engines where you don't see very often, especially compared to an OM616, which was in the 240D. So it's really hard to stack the two engines up against each other. But let's look at the raw data. The OM601 produced 72 horsepower in 2.2 liter form, and in rest of the world 2.0 liter form, whereas the 240D in US emissions form with the MW pump produced 67 horsepower, and for the rest of the world produced 72 horsepower. Now, because of its ease of service and accessibility for things like fuel injector return lines or delivery valve seals, I still prefer the 616 engine. It's still my favorite, it's still my go-to engine, but I see a certain amount of virtue in the 601 because it doesn't require valve adjustments and because it's super efficient. So the 601 engine was used in US market 190D 2.2s for 84 and 85 only. And that was it for the 601 engine, period. In the rest of the world, the 601 engine was used in 2.0 liter form, 2.2 liter form, and even 2.3 liter form, all the way up to, in some applications, 1995. But it was used through the duration of W201 production from 1984 all the way, or 83 really, up to 1993. In addition, it was used in the W124 series, and it was also used in the transporters. Now, starting in 1986, in the US, Mercedes-Benz realized that a slightly bigger engine was going to be needed. And another engine called the OM602, which was a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine, had been developed alongside the 601. This engine debuted in the 190D 2.5 in late 1985 in Europe, in the 250D, which was also in 1985, which was a 124 series car, and it debuted in 1986 in the 190D 2.5 in the United States. Available just like the 601 with a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual, these engines develop great horsepower for their size. They develop about 93 horsepower, which was a little bit more than the old 617 non-turbo 5-cylinder. And they produced a respectable they produced respectable fuel economy of 30 to 35 miles per gallon, which is quite good. I think that the 602 engine is a wonderful engine in non-turbo form. It's low maintenance and it requires very little diesel operative know-how to maintain. You basically just have to do oil changes and attend to the fuel system, and you're usually good to go. Now, in 1987 only for the United States, a 602 turbo diesel was introduced, and this was the last this was the 1987 wave of turbo diesels, the 300D turbo, the 300 SDL, the 300 TD, and the 190D 2.5 turbo. The 2.5 turbo produced 125 horsepower, and it is a respectable performer that gets about 33 miles per gallon, but it was produced for 1987 model year only. The 190D 2.5 in non-turbo form continued all the way through to the 1989 model year. By 1989, however, it was a slow seller, and as many of you who are W201 fans know, there are very few 190D 2.5 non-turbos on the market that were built in 1988 and 89. But they are still very good cars, and they were still available with 5 speeds. Of course, for 1990, Mercedes reintroduced bigger diesels because they knew that people who drove a lot and spent a lot of time in their cars were the primary target of the Mercedes diesel market. And because the cars didn't wear out, in 1989, if you were driving an 85 300 SD, dangling the 190D 2.5 on a string in front of you wasn't quite going to get the job done. Something bigger and better was needed. So 1989 was the last year of diesel 201s in the United States, but there's more information. The 602 and 602 turbo diesel also continued all the way to the end of production on the 190D. And in fact, in Europe, the 602 turbo diesel was continuously improved, and my understanding was they were even available with manual transmissions. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but somebody please correct me if it isn't. Now, all the non-turbo engines, of course, were available in such form. Now, what are some things you can do to improve the performance of a 190? Well, you can install a 602 turbo diesel in a 190D 2.5, but you can install the 2.9 liter version, which is a real screamer for such a small car. And you can even install, I've heard of people putting in 604, 605, and I think it would be a stretch with the 606 diesel, but it has been done. But the 604 and 605 diesels, which are sort of like an OM 601 or 602 with double overhead cams and 4 valves per cylinder and a turbocharger, represent a straightforward way of finding a little bit more power out of that engine platform. So all of these installations are fairly straightforward, and early applications from 1995 and earlier are still fairly analog. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video on the 601, 602, and 602 turbo diesel engines and the 190D that they were found in, please leave us a nice comment and like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't tapped the bell for notifications, do so already, and I'd love to see that thumbs up. And thank you to all 17,500 of our subscribers. We're so happy that all of you are watching. And if you're supporting us on Patreon, I think I might have a nice surprise for you guys coming soon. I want to start figuring out a way to live stream with guests, so that would be kind of exciting. Anyway, thank you for watching, and enjoy driving your Mercedes.